and welcome to a brand new episode of Never Seen It. My name is Betsy, and it's no mystery who my co-host is. It's Trent.
I did it.
You did not. You are a liar and a fraud, sir. But we are doing a mystery today because we are watching the newest installment in the Knives Out series. It is time that we finally sit down for Wake Up Dead Man. Trent, I was way too busy in the month of December for us to be able to find a slot for this film. But we have been excited about it for about 2 years since they announced they were making one.
Yeah, the last time we did this, Glass Onion came out at the end of 2023.
2022?
22, okay, fine. But we watched it at the tail end of that year because there was really nothing else for us to watch. And it's just kind of become, at least I wanted it to become, a tradition where the next Rian Johnson movie that comes out at the end of the year is our final episode. Well, you're going to have to wait until the middle of January for this one. So about the Knives Out series, before you get into this and start asking me questions, we have seen the first movie many times. It's one of our favorites. We've only watched Glass Onion, I think, twice.
Yeah, we did it for the show, and then last year we finally sat down and rewatched it. I don't know why it took us that long.
Even though it was at least one of my nominees for that year's award season for a movie that I want to rewatch now. It took like a year and a half for us to be able to just sit down and watch that movie again. So suffice it to say, we are fans of these movies. We are fans of Rian Johnson. Even though that Star Wars movie is controversial, we like it. So that's where we're coming from here.
But Wake Up Dead Man, it's been out about a month now. A lot of people are saying it's a great third installment, that it's actually their favorite of the Knives Out movies so far, and it's definitely going to be tonally different from the other two movies in its own way. So Trent, what do you know about Wake Up Dead Man?
So it's following the same kind of pattern as the other two movies, where it is a huge ensemble cast and it is a murder mystery. Besides those two things, plus Daniel Craig, of course, besides those aspects of the movie, this is completely new. I know the movie has something to do with a murder or something to that effect in a church, or it has something to do with religion, because there are priests in this, there's reverends in this, there's a lot of different religious people in the movie. And amongst this, ensemble cast, it's become one of the staples of these movies as to who's going to be included. So I know Glenn Close is one of the biggest names here, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Kerry Washington, and Jeremy Renner, which, hey, if you watch Glass Onion, they have a joke about Jeremy Renner having his own barbecue sauce in that movie.
Hot sauce.
Hot sauce, fine.
Yeah.
But if you watch the Glass Onion movie, you already know that they had a joke in that movie about Jeremy Renner having his own fucking hot sauce brand.
And I'm curious if they make any winks to that in this one.
I have a feeling.
Doubt it.
I have a feeling that they're not going to pay that off. It's just a funny joke in that movie.
It's just ironic,
because he's referred to as Jeremy Renner, and there's his face on the bottle.
And he's not playing Jeremy Renner in this, as far as I know.
No, I don't think he is. But it would be nice if they did that. As far as what the mystery is, besides a murder mystery, I know, based on what other people have said, you're not going to see it coming. The thing about these movies is that there's always a twist. There's something that you do not expect, and he pulls it off again. Rian Johnson does it again. It's
whether or not we're going to get the big reveal at the end of the movie,
right,
or they do it in the middle of the movie, because the timing of that turn has been different for both movies.
The timeline of when everything is being shown to the audience and when people in the movie know what actually happened.
He's very good at toying around with expectations and with twists. We've watched a number of his movies, and it's not that he always does it, but when he does, there's usually something that makes you go, oh, I liked how he did that.
And he just is getting better and better as time goes on. We covered his first movie, Brick, I think, 2 years ago on the main podcast? And you could see in that movie the little kernels of what would come later in his other murder mysteries.
We also watched Looper, which is another one that's really complex and hard to explain.
Talk about weird timeline shit.
So we have full faith in Rian Johnson and this series. So I think with that, we're just going to go and do it because, frankly, you and I are going in as blind as we can because we knew we weren't going to be able to watch this right away, so we've been avoiding it.
And also, when the trailers come out, they make sure not to give you any kind of fucking clues.
All you get is a taste, and that's it.
That's all you really need.
So with that, we're going to go and watch Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. I assume that's part of the title. And we will be right back. And that was Wake Up Dead Man. Now I will begin by reiterating, listeners, this is a mystery. And if you do not want the thing that is in this movie to be spoiled for you, because that's how mysteries work,
Yeah.
then you should not listen to this episode if you have not watched this movie, because we're going to spoil it, okay?
Yeah, just like what we did with the Glass Onion movie, we're all the way out there with spoilers. This movie will be spoiled in the next coming minutes.
So that is your final warning for spoilers. With that, Trent, what did you think of this latest entry into the Knives Out series?
First of all, I would just like to say for the record, Glenn Close is a national treasure and she deserves to win an Oscar. Before I die, before she dies, give that woman an Oscar.
At least an honorary one, for God's sakes.
Give her
Let's go.
something. God damn it. Anyway, Wake Up Dead Man. There were some moments here that I was just screaming out loud, yes, yes, yes. I can't believe that they're doing this. Yes. But the rest of the time, I don't know, Betsy. I don't think I got the same kind of feeling of all the revelations. I don't feel like I got the tenseness to everything. I think this movie is definitely a lesser version of the other two movies, but that is not to say that it is a bad movie. But I think they kind of explain that away because of what they are referencing within the movie, to the point where, yes, they even bring up fucking Scooby-Doo. Because why the fuck is Benoit Blanc just happening upon this one murder mystery in upstate New York, of all places? Why? It's because we have to have a movie. It's because we have to involve the man.
He has to have something to do.
Yeah.
He has to get involved. And it's literally like one line of dialogue where Mila Kunis says, someone in the department or someone she knows cued you in.
Or gave her his number.
Yeah, it was like this passing thing to explain why the hell he is here at all.
I know, which again goes back to the whole Scooby-Doo thing, where in those episodes, it just so happens that this gang happens upon this mystery.
Trent, I would say of the 3 Knives Out movies, this is definitively the most Scooby-Doo.
Oh, it's fucking silly as hell, and I love it.
I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you darn kids. Like you're expecting someone's mask to come off and be like, it wasn't Josh Brolin, it was Thomas Hayden Church all along.
But it wasn't.
But it wasn't. But it was. But it does lead you down this path of really questioning what the hell is going on here, because they're tying it in with an exploration of faith. So the mystery is way more complex than the other 2 movies as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
I genuinely was like, they wouldn't be showing me this thing if they wouldn't bring it up again. They wouldn't be showing me that if they weren't going to bring it up again. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I think I'm understanding what the mystery is. I have a theory. I have another theory. I have a third theory. And none of my fucking theories were right.
It's never as simple as what you want it to be. But one more thing I wanted to add on to that. Rian Johnson likes to include a lot of villains in his pieces. Almost all of the people in the first Knives Out were all terrible. That entire family is awful.
The second one, they were also all terrible.
Yeah,
Everyone has a motive.
Everybody in the second one, they all just fucking suck. And in this one, again, everybody kind of has their own little thing that is going on with them that would make you think, oh, this person has this dark past, or they revealed something, or I don't know.
Everybody has a motive, and you suspect every single person.
And I think that's where the movie is kind of losing me a little bit, because they didn't go down the road of everybody. Even though everybody's kind of a suspect, they're not really. They're just kind of also there.
I will agree with you. They didn't spend as much time as I would have liked with each individual person
Yeah.
to really get a sense of why they could be the murderer.
Exactly. And I know maybe that's not where he was trying to go, but when you have this in any other kind of murder mystery, you kind of want to suspect everybody. But there's really nothing to do with Kerry Washington or the son, quote unquote, that she was raising, other than he kind of knew that there was a connection there with the money, and they knew that there was going to be some kind of money, but then there's no motivation to get the money. With the Andrew Scott character, there's kind of zero motivation there whatsoever. And the gal who was in the wheelchair, I don't know that actress, but
that's Kaylee Spaney. She was in Civil War. But
Oh.
she looks like a grown-ass woman here,
She
so
does.
it's a little difficult to spot her.
yeah, she does. But other than the fact that the Monsignor is stealing all of her money by convincing her that through faith you will be healed, when in reality he just says, I never promised that I was going to heal you. Only God can heal you. So there's a little bit here and there with these folks, but not enough to really satisfy me.
So the thing I kept coming back to was, I was thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if it's not as simple as there's one person? Maybe this entire group gangs up to do it. There is actually a really well-known Agatha Christie story that the big reveal is that everybody who's a suspect is actually guilty, that they all were in on the murder.
Which they do kind of talk about here when they're having the big meeting, and we find out, the big meeting was recorded, and by revealing the recording, well, then everybody's fucked. But in reality, nobody in there is really involved except for Glenn Close. And the one thing that kind of came out of that when we get the scene of the Monsignor going after everybody in the room, the one person he doesn't address is Glenn Close.
He passes her over.
Yeah.
Which is weirdly the thing that makes her triggered to go down this road.
Exactly, because she is convinced that he ordered the construction crew to come unearth the crypt because she confessed basically her entire part in this 60-year thing. And that there is an inheritance, and his grandfather never wanted anybody to have it.
And of course, the reason she's doing this is she's a true believer, and she can't abide by people who do not believe. And even though she has full faith in Josh Brolin and believes he is like the fucking second coming, the second he's like, fuck this place, fuck this job, fuck these people, I'm getting my inheritance, and I'm peacing out for the rest of my life. She can't handle the fact that he wants out, and she sets into motion all of the process to actually make sure he gets what's coming to him. Now, the thing I haven't said yet, Trent, I actually liked this one. The way that you are feeling about the third one is kind of how I felt about the second one. If you go back and listen to that episode, I remember watching Glass Onion and being like, I don't know if I like this. These people are so fucking unbearable and awful, and I didn't really get down with the mystery. I just kind of wasn't feeling that one. I've watched it again. I do like it. I think it's not as good as the first one, but I do feel like this entry is a lot more spiritually akin to the first Knives Out.
I agree with you in that sense, because the second one, I mean, Rian Johnson likes to throw in a lot of political messages, even if it's not really a political movie. But with the second one, it was so overt that all of these people are like the archetypes of people that Rian Johnson does not like.
It's interesting you say that because, Trent, I would argue he's extremely overt about certain themes in this movie that is about faith and religion and kind of false prophets and things like that.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that, but in a little while. So as far as your reaction to this movie, were you satisfied with how it ended?
I think that I was. And I don't know if maybe it's because I grew up Catholic, that there are elements of this movie and the basic thesis behind it, you know, the people who are following this guy and the rest of the church is looking at him saying his flock is really messed up, but there's the hardcore believers. And like you said, we're going to talk about, you know, the things people have done in the name of Christianity. And I've talked about it on the show before. I'm not particularly religious. You are not religious. But there are elements of this that I recognize, having grown up in Catholicism and the ritual and the stories and the feelings. I don't always have respect for these self-proclaimed Christians who are a bunch of hypocrites. The fact that there's so many ways to interpret what you think religion should be, that's the stuff that's hard to get down with. But I have a healthy respect for faith. And that's what they're kind of talking about in this movie is when he gets on the phone and he's trying to solve a fucking murder. And this woman says, "Father, will you pray for me?" Like she's afraid to say it to him. And then he immediately clicks into gear and remembers his calling. He remembers that thing that he has been driven to do. And there were moments like that throughout the movie that I really admired and recognized. And that's the stuff that I'm like, okay, that's the bit of it I like.
Yeah, there is a deep respect for religious people who come at it from a very honest kind of perspective. And even though somebody of faith who maybe is very protective of their religion, of their church, of their beliefs, whatever, might look at this movie and say, well, they're making fun of my faith. No, they're not. They're really not. Even though, and again, I wanted to talk about this later, but I guess we can talk about it now. Benoit Blanc is a self-professed heretic, and he says that he kneels before the altar of logic, or whatever he says. I can't remember. There are a couple of moments here that I was cheering for where, oh my God, I can't believe that number one, Rian Johnson wrote these words and Netflix allowed it to be in this movie. Because holy shit, the speeches that Benoit makes in that church and even at the end of the movie when he's about to reveal everything to all of the congregation, he kind of just lets it out saying, oh yeah, this church that is made to look like this Gothic figure from Europe, even though we're in upstate New York and none of this architecture actually exists in the real world. And the idea that some of these stories that have been passed around for thousands of years basically resemble children's fairy tales, and I could keep on going. He has that speech at the beginning, and then at the end when he's up at the pulpit and he feels the power of himself up there preaching to his flock. Eventually, he feels it too much and he pulls back because not only does he feel the power that a person up at that pulpit really possesses, but he also has this captive audience. And at that moment, he could take, like, he has the faith of all of the people in that room in the palm of his hand, and he could completely crush it by his logic, by his learnedness, by whatever it is that he believes outside of being in a church.
By being smarter than them, by proving to them all, look how great I am and you're a bunch of fucking dummies.
Exactly, which is where he actually pulls back and he sees the light, as it were. And instead of doing that, instead of crushing everybody's faith in that room, because he does respect people who do have faith, and I think Rian Johnson does too. Instead of doing that, he allows people to exit that church and go on with their lives because he trusts that if he does do that, we don't get the revelation from Glenn Close. She does not allow herself to go in there and confess everything because she is also a person of deep, deep faith.
And that's the other thing about this movie. There's a lot of moments where people have a choice, and it's all about getting there on your own. You can't just be told that you have to do this. You have to fundamentally believe that it's the right thing to do, and it has to be your choice. Josh O'Connor thinks he killed a guy. He believes he killed this guy. His fingerprints are on the weapon. He has this vision that he did it. He has to go confess. And Glenn Close has the same moment at the end of the movie where she could walk away. She could get away with it because he didn't do it. He didn't sell her out. He didn't rat her out in front of everybody. And instead, in her final moments, in her final breath, she confesses the whole thing. This is what really happened to that guy's father. This is where he hid the jewels. This is what I said to his daughter. I have been holding on to all of this anger and hatred my entire life. And then it's also about forgiveness, forgiving yourself and asking forgiveness from the people who aren't there to forgive you anymore.
Right. You have to forgive yourself in that moment. And because Benoit has such an understanding of the people in that room, especially the Glenn Close character, he steps down from that pulpit and allows things to kind of go the way they're supposed to go when she's going in there for it's like it's any other Sunday with her going in to confess. But she realizes she confessed her sins to the wrong priest.
And in that moment, it's not Benoit who has the power. He steps away and lets the priest, the guy who is the figurehead in this situation, in this building, he is the one you're supposed to be turning to.
Yes.
She is actually able to do that because he gets out of the way and lets her.
At that moment, he is a passive observer. And instead of going down the normal road of, well, clearly I have it all figured out, I'm going to tell Mila Kunis, the cop, to come in and say, arrest her, she did everything, and whatever. You know, in the end here, there's no satisfying ending, quote unquote, because nobody is going to pay the price because everybody who was the bad guy, as it were, are all dead. Jeremy Renner's body was melted with acid. Glenn Close just poisoned herself. And Josh Brolin was drugged and stabbed in the back by Jeremy Renner. So all of the bad people are all dead. So there's nobody to haul off in handcuffs.
And even Thomas Hayden Church, even if you can't define him as the bad guy, because he's just kind of going along with whatever Glenn Close wants because he loves her.
Right.
Even he's dead. There's quite a body count in this movie.
Yeah, he's an accomplice. But yeah, not even he is going to be held accountable for anything that anybody does.
And the only person who's left who's really shitty is the son that we find out, oh, it's Cy. He is his son. He could inherit. He knows that diamond is out there. Where did you hide it? And no one will tell him because instead of doing something that could help the church, like Josh O'Connor, again, when faced with this dilemma, he has this rock worth $80 million. Do you know what that could do for a person? What that could do for churches? That could do for the poor, the people who need it? There's so many, it might not be exactly ethical, and he knows it. But Benoit just kind of walks away. He's like, I didn't see nothing.
I love how he just strolls away because he could just grab it too.
He could. Or he could say, all right, we're going to return this to the rightful owner. We could put it in the hands of the guy who has been spouting the worst bullshit in the entire movie. This is a guy who doesn't actually have faith in what he was trying to accomplish. He wanted to be the new face of the GOP, and he just says, I did everything I was supposed to do. I said this thing and that thing and that thing, but he has no fucking charisma because he's not a real fucking person. He doesn't really believe it.
Yeah, he is using the faith of other people. He's using people, let's say, in order to get himself elected. But it's not working because you suck.
And now he could have all this money, this large fortune that rightfully should be his.
Yep.
Imagine the horrible things this guy could do with it.
Exactly.
So we have to keep it out of his hands, even though it's technically rightfully his.
And the reason why he says that at the end, if you put a fucking new roof on this church, I'm going to know where you got that money and I'm going to come after you. So Father Judd is in a conundrum. So guess what? He just doesn't do anything with it.
He hides it in plain sight, and that's the end of it. He knows where it is.
Yep.
He's not going to give it up. It belongs to the church now, and not in the way you think. But that feels like a good place to take a break. So we're going to take a word from our sponsor, and we will be right back. Are your ears tired of the same boring podcasts? Is the wait until the next episode of Never Seen It too much to bear? Then why not try Never Seen It premium content? The exclusive episodes on patreon.com/neverseenitpod take care of those hard-to-clean areas in your mind. It can handle dramas, romance, horror, and so much more. Use Never Seen It premium content during dental work, while skydiving, or even in your car. It's even gluten-free. So what are you waiting for? Try patreon.com/neverseenitpod today. As we mentioned in the intro, this is always going to be a big ensemble piece. And we touched on it a little bit, but I agree with that statement that I just kind of wish we had gotten to spend a little bit more time with all these people. I think they set them up in a really good way, where he is writing out the story. We're getting a letter that he is writing to Benoit. He's writing down everything that has happened in the last 9 months. And it's like, okay, here are your prime people we should be looking at. This is the core flock. These are the people who look at Josh Brolin and think, fuck yeah, that guy rules, which is a bizarre thing to say because he's a piece of shit. But yeah, I don't think we explore much beyond that. It's very surface level, and then we don't get a lot of scenes of them talking to each other, them talking to Benoit. He doesn't do the thing he normally does, which is interrogate them one-on-one.
The framing of how everything is kind of set up here in literally the first hour of the movie, because when he's writing that letter to Benoit, laying it all out, it's almost exactly an hour into the movie, and he says it in the letter. Over the last hour of me writing things, it's been an hour. I just thought that was a great little moment there.
That wasn't a mistake,
I know.
sure.
I know. I fucking loved it. But yeah, him setting everything up by telling the story about all of the different pertinent people who are involved in this church, this flock, whatever you want to call it. And I think the most interesting thing here in that first hour is talking about how Josh Brolin, when he's up at the pulpit, what he wants more than anything is to have somebody walk out.
His idea of faith is, I believe X, Y, and Z. You should believe X, Y, and Z. Anybody who believes in the gray in between, you are not a true believer.
Yep.
And I will push you until you get the fuck out of my church.
Because at that point, the only people who are left are the true believers, and I can use you however I see fit.
Except it's the true believers in him and his methods.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand how people get there. And this is another element of, okay, Rian Johnson is saying something about certain people in America believing someone they probably shouldn't be believing in.
They do kind of talk about it here where he's kind of an influencer, where he is spouting his bullshit up at the pulpit, and the Psy guy is putting up all the clips and he's basically trying to become this like online prophet, but not really. Like the Psy guy is trying to use him like he uses everything else, trying to use him in order to, I don't know, just create an online following and just take whatever, vitriolic message that you have up there and put it out to the world so that you get even more followers.
But it's that thing of, if you're a rational person and you are an observer from the outside looking in, these like 6 or 7 people who are the true believers, the ones that go to all the masses, even on Good Friday at 3 o'clock when they're basically the only ones in that church. They keep showing up. They keep believing in him. When this other priest comes and he's trying to do a different approach, and he says, we're going to have a prayer meeting, and they're all like, what do you mean he doesn't know? He has to know. We can't not tell him. Like, we don't want to be in this room because they're both afraid of him, but also believe in him.
And even when Father Judd comes to the church, he's like, well, you're not taking away my fucking church. Like, this is mine. And even though you're sent here to do whatever, be the hot new cool priest, you're not taking any of this away. In fact, I'm trying to, in a way, scare you off, because when they go out into the garden and he asks Judd to take his confession, he says all of this stuff that isn't true. Like he says, oh, I've been masturbating however many times. And over the course of the year, he says it every single time to him, to the point where Judd looks up his medical records to say, dude, you can't even get an erection anymore. What the fuck?
You have just intentionally been pushing my buttons for 9 months just to see what I'll do.
Yeah, because he knows that Judd has a past. He knows that he has a temper or whatever it is that you want to call it. Because again, he just doesn't want to have Judd be the normal priest.
He feels threatened by another guy in his territory. He's becoming very territorial. And that's the whole reason this other priest gets assigned. Jeffrey Wright, who I did not know was in this movie, plays like the cardinal or the bishop or whatever he is at the beginning of the movie. And he says, we're going to assign you to this place because even though he's one of us, he is one of our priests, we don't like his methods. He is a known dickhead.
Well, also he says that the flock is diminishing.
Yeah, we need people to have faith. That is the whole point of this venture. And if something doesn't change, then we're going to shut down that entire church. And that's the thing they don't want to have to do.
Yeah.
But Josh Brolin refuses to let this guy even try, and they have extremely different methods. Josh O'Connor is extremely likable. He is trying to get to know people. He's being very personable. He's going to their homes. He's getting to know them. He's asking them about themselves.
Yeah, we even have a montage of him meeting each individual person that he's talking about, getting their life story.
But this is what's unique about this movie. You said that. You said the thing about, we're hearing all about them through this letter.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't actually seeing them from their own perspective most of the movie. We are only getting other people's versions of them.
And when he meets with Glenn Close, that's the story that she gives him, where the mother of the Josh Brolin character is depicted as being this demonic fucking creature who is destroying everything because she didn't get her way, when in reality, it's just the opposite.
I mean, it's half true. She did destroy everything because she didn't get her way.
It's true.
But she also Glenn Close chose to tell her to her face, I know where it is and you're never going to fucking find it, you whore.
Yeah. Which also goes to show that, don't corrupt children like that. Don't do that to kids.
And then they pass that attitude on to the entire church.
Yeah.
Like, she says it, the priest says it, all of these people say this is the story of why the church is like this, and it's her fault. And I just had a thought while we were having this conversation. Maybe that's kind of the point. The fact that we really don't get anybody's first-person accounts. We don't really get to talk to them directly. We only hear people's versions of it. It's all about faith. You have to have faith in the storyteller, in the narrator of this tale, that what they are telling you is the truth.
Oh, fuck. Betsy, wow. You're basically having to trust what everybody is telling you. They're giving you the most rosy picture of how they see things or what they want you to believe, which I want to now talk about the whole relationship and the story behind the Kerry Washington character and Cyrus. She tells the story about Cy being brought home by her own father and not really saying where he comes from. So presumably she thinks that, oh, this is my illegitimate brother. My father knocked somebody up and this is his offspring.
And I have faith in my father and I'm not going to ask questions. I'm just going to do as I'm told and believe him.
I'm going to do my duty here. I am going to raise him as if he was mine. But in reality, he was actually fathered by the Josh Brolin character. But we never hear who the actual mother is. Who do you think it is? Does it matter? Because all he ever says in that meeting room with everybody is she was just some loose woman that I met one night and never saw again.
I feel like that's probably true, and that's really all you need to know. It's more the fact that he knows about this kid. He has known for clearly quite a few years, and my guess is something happened to the mother, which is why he ended up with this kid. But he couldn't take care of him, obviously, so he left it to his lawyer to sort things out.
That's right, because, her dad was a lawyer, and this is the arrangement that they had together. Oh, man. Like, that whole question was bothering me the entire movie when they say this kid is illegitimate and blah, blah, blah. I don't like that word, but we never really find out the answer to, who the mother is and what the connection is there.
We also don't know who Josh Brolin's father is because they have a passing line there too. Like his mother was this loose harlot.
Yeah.
They just say she was a slut and she slept around and she got knocked up.
Yeah,
and that's how Josh Brolin came to be.
And the Josh Brolin character has this resentment about his childhood and I should be this. And he's saying stuff in the church about, why don't you just beat this child? And he has some trauma here that he needs to work out himself.
But he doesn't do any work on himself. He passes that on to other people. So he picks out this woman who is a single mother and says, why would you bother? By being a single parent, you're saying that I know best and I don't need a man and you might as well beat him because it's about as effective as what you think you're accomplishing.
Right. When in reality, the approach that should be taken is the Father Judd method, where it's forgiveness and it is all the good stuff that comes with religion.
The stuff that Jesus was really preaching about.
Well, that's the thing, though. The Father Judd character is a good person, even though, yes, he did some horrible things and he admits it. And when him and Benoit have it out in the middle of this fucking forest. And he asks him, why did you become a priest? Benoit has it all figured out in his head. Well, you wanted to escape. You felt guilty. This was about the only thing that you could possibly do and somehow feel okay about what you did because you can forgive yourself.
He's rationalizing it in only the way that Benoit can.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really understand it because it's all about your own internal personal struggles. It's all about, can you forgive yourself? Can you forgive other people?
Yeah, and I think this is more a vehicle of Benoit Blanc learning about religion, learning about faith, and how that side of the world really operates.
Or at least seeing somebody who you're like, okay, you're a good example of this. I can see in you the appeal. I can see why people go in this direction. You're what the world needs more of.
And when they meet for the first time, Benoit says, you are an innocent person that feels guilt. I'm looking for the guilty person who looks innocent, or whatever he says. Because in reality, the most innocent looking person out of the bunch here is Glenn Close.
She is the old lady at the church who fucking runs this show.
Yeah.
She is the woman
everything.
Who has been here her entire life. She has been here since she was a kid. This is her church. She plays the organ. She organizes the book club. She takes the donations. She makes the appointments. She gets shit done. And there's always one of those, especially in these small town communities, where they feel taken advantage of sometimes in that situation.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work. Why doesn't anybody say thank you to me? Like, I'm the one. I have faith. And she also believes in Josh Brolin, and she believes all the stories she has been told. And it's also the thing that is her downfall. She has so much faith that she finally says, well, fuck, he doesn't have any faith in me. I must put a stop to this.
Right. Even though I put my faith in him, I confessed to the thing that I've been holding on to for 60 fucking years. He takes that as an opportunity to make himself rich because she gets a call about the construction crew coming in and she realizes, oh, fuck, he's going to try to unearth this diamond and he's going to fuck off and never come back.
And he's going to leave and all my faith will be for nothing.
Yeah.
So she comes up with this elaborate plan with Jeremy Renner, and it's so many people that have to be involved. This is not a simple plan. This is organized to shit.
Now, here's the other thing that I kind of don't like here. It's the Jeremy Renner character. Why does he care? Why does he get himself involved here other than, like, she recognizes him as a weak person and his wife left him and all he's been doing is drinking himself into a stupor?
He has the most to lose. When he gets called out, he is always drunk. He is practicing medicine while drunk. That is something that will ruin your life. You will go to prison for that. Yeah. That's not even a question. If that comes out, your life above anybody else's in this room will be the most ruined.
Because Josh Brolin here in that meeting, he says, I'm going to have it out with everybody. I know that you're operating on people when you're wasted. And I know this about you and I know this about you. Yeah, you're right. Jeremy Renner has the most to lose in that room.
He is a pawn. And then when he goes to the basement with her and he's like, there's the body, I got it all figured out, she knows he's going to try some shit because they're now in it together.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just genuinely because he's the one that can be used. I don't think it's much more complicated than that. Anybody else, I don't think she could use them in any way. She'd have to do it by herself because Kerry Washington, even though she's already kind of like, what the fuck, dude? This is your son. You went behind my back. I'm your lawyer.
Yeah.
And you went out of state to some other guy to get this piece of paper acknowledging that is your son. You accept him as your son, etc. And you didn't fucking tell me. I'm your lawyer and I've been raising this kid's ass for God knows how many years.
Right. Yeah. I think it's the movie is less neat and tidy as everybody's motivation is revealed in these other two movies. You just don't get that much out of this one.
Not as much because the other people are Andrew Scott, who is a writer, who's kind of a conspiracy nut, living up in the woods, basically.
Mm-hmm. Who makes himself a moat, which I really liked.
And the only thing is he is writing down the stories of this priest. He is interpreting his experience watching Josh Brolin into a book. That's it. There's not really an understanding here of why he's doing this.
I think he is probably the least fleshed out character in the entire movie. Other than, hey, Rian Johnson wants to make some jokes about Big Lebowski.
Yeah. And then Kaylee Spaney, she is like a cellist who was in an accident. I loved the moment where she's in a wheelchair the entire movie, and then she gets up, and Glenn Close starts screing, "It's a miracle!"
Oh my God, it's a miracle!
She's like, "I can walk."
Calm down. I can walk. It just hurts.
That was a fantastic moment.
She has some great fucking moments here, especially when she pops out from behind the priest.
Glenn Close surprise. Yeah. Martha surprise. But no, Kaylee Spaney, when she is saying she's cutting checks. Like, she feels like she can rid herself of these bad feelings by supporting the church instead of working internally, working on herself and accepting this is her situation. It is what it is, and I have to come to terms with that.
And I have such sympathy for the people in real life that this happens to, where these fucking shysters come on the television or are in these huge mega churches that they say, "I need a blessing from you. Why don't you give me a blessing?" And yeah, Betsy, I could go on a 5-hour rant about the evils of the church and all of the things that it does to ruin people's lives, mainly from a financial point of view. I'm not saying anything else here. I have my own opinions, but some of the people out there who use people for their own financial gain under the guise of faith, those people should be in prison.
Specifically the ones that are like, well, yeah, God told me I'm supposed to be rich.
Oh,
so why don't you just help me accomplish that goal? There's a little dusting of that in this movie. There's a little dusting, but they don't explore it a lot. But let's talk about Josh Brolin.
Yes.
Josh Brolin is having a fucking ball in this movie, I think, because he is such a son of a bitch. He is out there looking disheveled, looking nothing like what you think of when you think, oh, here's this old priest who's been here for a while. You have a certain idea of what he's gonna look like when he shows up on screen, and this ain't it.
I knew Josh Brolin was in this movie. I did not expect him to look like this.
Long hair, big beard, I don't give a fuck attitude.
Which I read in the trivia here when he's on the slab in the morgue. That model that is on the table is just made up to look like Josh Brolin because they couldn't actually have him on there because Josh Brolin, the man, is too fit.
He's ripped to shit under all those
exactly.
robes.
And when you take all the clothes off, he looks like what a Monsignor would look like.
Well, yeah, then you wouldn't get that great joke of Benoit Blanc shaking his belly going, wiggly, wiggly,
wiggly,
wiggly, wiggly.
Yes.
But yeah, Josh Brolin is at an absolute 11 most of the movie. He is great in this role. He is screaming at people. He is up on his pulpit. He does not give a fuck what you think because he has discovered that this is what I believe. And if you don't like it, then get the fuck out of my church.
This is the way. This is the truth.
And then after his sermons, he fucking drinks. He does shots in the little vestibule. He's in this little closet drinking because he's so filled with the Spirit and he's so overwhelmed that he needs to just compose himself.
Yeah, he needs to physically and spiritually recover in the back closet. Which, as long as we're talking about the closet here, what did you think about the big mystery? Like how it all came together with the remote blood splatter, with the tranquilized flask and all of this extra stuff that doesn't detract from the movie. But again, I think it goes back to this whole Agatha Christie thing where it's not just one thing, it's everything.
And that's also Knives Out. It's not so simple. We have to add a couple of mysteries to the mystery pile because it can't just be as cut and dry as this is how it was done. I was rattling my brain through so many scenarios. I know he's talking about like robots that shoot knives and things. The one that I was thinking of was the crypt at the beginning of the movie. They say it has to be opened mechanically from the front, but from the back, it'll just pop right open. If you're on the inside and need to get out, you can just shove that thing and it'll open. So that was what my assumption was that somehow in that amount of time, there was some sort of swivel door situation because he kept pushing on it. He's like, oh, it's solid. You can't open this. There is no door here. Well, what if there was? What if there was some kind of way you could push it from the back and then close it again quick? But then it's like, no, there's not enough time. But I didn't think about, oh, she had sewn something to his robes and then they just ripped it off and then actually stabbed him. There are 2 weapons, etc. That's the stuff that I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that.
Also, Jeremy Renner being the first one to stand up and say, "What's going on? Is he okay?" Which apparently he is actually putting away the little remote device when he stands up. He reaches back and puts it away.
Oh, interesting. A tiny detail that is easy to miss.
Speaking of, in the intro, we talked about the Jeremy Renner hot sauce in the second movie. Apparently in that bar, there is a bottle of that hot sauce on the shelf. It's just really, really hard to find.
It's so well hidden that Rian Johnson couldn't find it to point it out to anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, there was another moment while we're talking about Jeremy Renner. Tell me I'm crazy. Were there a lot of Lord of the Rings type references in this movie?
There were at least a couple, yeah.
Okay, because when Andrew Scott says, "You have my sword," and then we pan over to Jeremy Renner, all I thought was, "and my bow." Not a Lord of the Rings reference, but you know, his other famous character, his little bow and arrow. I don't know. I thought about that watching the movie. And then later when they're like, "Let them come." Is that not from Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Okay.
Gimli says it.
Is this something that I totally was picking up on that was intentional? Or is it just a weird thing that I've seen Lord of the Rings a lot of times and it's coincidence?
Oh no, it was very much intentional, including the reference to Star Wars in this movie. When Sai is in that room and he reveals the video that he took of that big meeting, he references Star Wars and like being just like the rebels, but he mentions that the rebels are the bad guys in the Star Wars trilogy, which is what a lot of people in his character circles really believe, that the fucking rebels are the bad guys in Star Wars.
I don't know what fucking movie you're watching, dipshit.
I know.
All right.
Shit.
Well, bringing back to Lord of the Rings, there's also a moment where Glenn Close has an axe. So we did hit all 3 if we're looking for Easter eggs. Well, the only other person we haven't talked in depth about is Josh O'Connor, who is the central figure of the movie.
Yeah.
He is more the lead than Benoit Blanc is because he doesn't show up except for a 2-second thing at the beginning of the movie for almost an hour. What did you think of Josh O'Connor in this movie? Because you recognize him as the guy from Challengers, but you haven't actually seen Challengers and don't know him from anything else.
No, I have not seen him in anything else other than this movie. And, I got nothing bad to say about him. I think the struggles that he's kind of going through here, where he wants to confess to the murder of Sam, because clearly it was me and I've killed before, and he understands the human condition better than a whole lot of other people in this movie. But I also really like the fact that he's a young guy, he's a young priest, and he swears a lot, and yeah.
He has tattoos, like he has a fucking neck tattoo.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a guy who has lived a life, and then he found his way to the church. He found faith, he joined the priesthood, and he gives this beautiful speech at the beginning where he says, "I know, I slipped up, I went backwards, I did the thing I was trying to grow away from, and I know that this is what it should be. So give me another chance."
And then the Jeffrey Wright character says, "Well, not all of us are all that upset about the fact that you punched this guy, because everybody agrees that this guy's a dick, but you still can't punch people. So this is your next calling."
It's nice that they paint these people as human beings.
Yes.
These are all men of faith. These are all people in the church, but they're also people. They aren't painting them as heroes, even though like Glenn Close's major plan is we are going to serve 2 purposes at once by killing Josh Brolin. We are going to make his death righteous, and also he's going to rise from the fucking dead, and we're going to make a miracle, and then people will really believe.
And it's going to be all out on the internet, and we're going to have a whole lot of people coming to this church, and this church will be saved.
It'll be an elaborate scam.
Because it wasn't a mistake that there was a camera on when he comes out of the crypt. So in her own way, she is saving the church by having all of this happen. And Betsy, I would just like to point out that we've had 2 movies kind of back-to-back years that are surrounding the Catholic Church, the other one being Conclave. That was my number 1 movie of that season of the Oscars. It's really strange to have movies like this really not have me question my own, non-beliefs, let's say, but filmmakers really having a respect for the people of faith who come by it honestly. and having scorn for the people who try to manipulate the system and use the power and influence of the church for their own means.
I appreciate that they do have a character in this movie that is representative of that. Because I don't even think Josh Brolin necessarily believes that fully about his pulpit being a way that he can manipulate people. I think he definitely believes it to a point, but it's the other guy, his son, Cy, that is the real piece of shit that recognizes the power that is available to him if he wants to wield it. If he were able to harness that energy, ride the coattails of Josh Brolin, of what they could accomplish together, and it's not fucking good. It's not good. He does not have any good plans, but he knows that he can't do it by himself because he is not charismatic. Josh Brolin is charismatic as fuck, and that is what makes him dangerous in his position.
Yeah.
And he would rather harness that energy and ride the wave with him. And there's so many people, so many disgusting humans out there who do this all the time, where they themselves are a piece of shit and they cannot do it on their own. They have zero charisma. They literally use the phrase cult of personality within this movie.
Yes.
And there is so much of that in this modern era where everything is live streamed and anyone could get famous. And all you have to do is say the right things.
Yeah.
And if you have enough charisma, people will follow you.
I mentioned it before. It's him being this religious influencer, having people follow him, having people listen to him for whatever means. Money, power, influence, whatever.
But he is also just as happy when he has an opportunity to hang it up, to just peace out. He doesn't really care about this.
No.
He's not bought in. He just thinks about, well, his grandfather was a good priest and this is the church he built, so maybe I can do it too. And then it's kind of boring to him, which is why he spends his time fucking around with anybody who tries to take it away from him. Even if he's not that interested, the second it's threatened, he becomes very territorial.
And not that they really address this in the movie, but the fact that he's off kind of philandering around with a whole bunch of people, but no one calls him out for it. He fathers a child out of wedlock and people just look the other way.
And when it happens, they go, oh, suddenly you're a human and I forgive you and I'm with you. But he takes that opportunity to say, well, I don't give a shit because I'm leaving and I'm going to burn every bridge on my way out.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definite aspects of this movie that I very much appreciate. I just don't think it is constructed in a way that is up to the same bar as the other two Knives Out movies.
Well, we'll find out when we rewatch it in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
Because that's how long it took us to get to the other one. But Trent, do you have any other thoughts about this one before we wrap it up?
I asked you before we even started, is this the last Rian Johnson movie that he is contractually obligated to give Netflix? And I still don't have an answer to that question, so I'm going to look it up after we're done here. But if he's done with the Netflix stuff, I know that the relationship that he has with Netflix is very strained.
I'm pretty sure that this was the end of the contract, but I also know that he and Daniel Craig would very much love to keep making Benoit Blanc movies for as long as they can.
Oh, yeah. But my point to that is, I just want to know what Rian Johnson is going to do next, because I know he doesn't want to keep on doing just these kinds of movies. And I'm not saying that I don't want another Knives Out type movie. I'm just really curious about the guy and his mind and how it works. And again, we've covered all of Rian Johnson's movies on this podcast, save for one, and that's the Star Wars movie, because we've already seen it. But so far, he's batting 1,000. I really want to know what he does next.
There's only one we haven't done, and it's The Brothers Bloom.
Oh, shit. I completely forgot about that one.
I think a lot of people do because it wasn't a smash hit,
No.
and it's not really like the rest of his movies. I have seen it. I would be curious what you think of it. So maybe we'll try to find some time to work it into the podcast. But until then, we'll just have to wait until the next Rian Johnson mystery or time loop or high school neo-noir or whatever he's got up his sleeve next. But that's going to do it for Wake Up Dead Man. So listeners, we would love to hear from you. Did you like this one? Are you more like Trent, where you weren't quite sure you liked it, but you maybe didn't love it? Are you obsessed with this one? Where do you rank these three movies? How do you put each entry into the Knives Out trilogy? Send us your thoughts, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We don't have any new emails to read this week, but I don't believe you guys that you're not watching these Oscar movies, because I know Marty Supreme has already sold more tickets than One Battle After Another did. All these movies that are in contention to win an Oscar for Best Picture.
Yeah, and by the responses that we're getting on our social media clips on TikTok and YouTube, apparently there's a whole lot of Marty Supreme defenders out there, and I just don't understand you people. And when I say that, I mean, they're being real dicks about it. They can't really, I don't know. It's the internet. I fucking hate social media, but it is what it is.
If you actually go and listen to the episode, I do happen to mention I like the movie, but you're getting 30 seconds of an hour-long episode. Calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down. But yes, we would love to hear from you about these movies. And if you listened to last week's episode, our superfan Stephanie just watched Sinners. It came out last summer and she just finally watched it. You don't have to watch the movies brand new. You can go back to any of our 300 plus episodes that we've already done in this show and send us your thoughts on anything that you watched.
Yeah, and if you want to get caught up on all the episodes where we've actually covered, I'm looking at my list. We have covered upwards of 8 possible Best Picture nominees. I'm going to run them down. We've covered Sinners, Sentimental Value, One Battle After Another, Frankenstein, Begonia, Marty Supreme, Wicked for Good. And yes, I'm going to throw in Sorry Baby, because there's a whole lot of people in the industry that are really putting out the name Sorry Baby to a lot of people who are going to be voting for the Oscars very soon.
If you watched the Golden Globes a week or whatever ago it was at the timeline of this recording, Julia Roberts got up there in the room full of people who matter and said, go see Sorry Baby.
And Ryan Coogler was on, I think, Colbert or one of the talk shows and said, hey, Sorry Baby is a really great movie. You should watch it.
Wouldn't that be great if that's the dark horse we aren't expecting?
I would feel so fucking happy if Sorry Baby gets nominated for Best Picture. Man, but anyway, do what Betsy said. Go back and listen to those episodes. Watch these movies and come back next week, because we don't know what we're going to be doing next week.
Yes, as we said, the Oscar nominations come out this upcoming Thursday. So between Thursday and Sunday, we'll know what our next movie is. But until then, we're just sort of guessing and hoping, and we'll see. We've got some options. I think we've got a pretty good idea of the ones that are left. But until Thursday, we won't know for sure. So in the meantime, watch our social media. We'll post what that next episode is going to be. Until then, we thank you for listening to this episode. My name is Betsy.
My name's Trent.
And we'll see you next week.
See you, folks.